The grind never stops, people. We got another core update released on the 2nd of November. So that was yesterday. This is a new announcement by Google Search. I'm going to run you through some of the crazy reactions to the Google core update, what it means for your site, my top 3 ways for protecting your site from Google search updates and making sure that your rankings don't take a big hit. And this is based on what's working for me and my website so far. As you can see, these 2 sites that I own have performed well since all the updates this year. You're also going to learn whether my AI sites got decimated by all the Google updates this year, which ones took a hit, which ones didn't. I'm going to be fully transparent on that and give you the lowdown on my Google Search Console. Plus, I'll run you through exactly what the core update means, some of the best strategies for dealing with it, and some of the other updates that are coming out very soon. That's going to be interesting too. So let's just get straight into it. So this was the announcement for the November 2023 core update. You can see it from Google Search Central right here. And basically, they've released another update, but this is unusual because if we look, for example, last year in 2022, you could only see 2 core updates, right? So there was one in May and there was one in September. So it was about 5 or 6 months apart. If you look this year at the list of official updates from the Google Search status dashboard, you'll see that there was an update in March, a core update. Then there was one in August, pretty normal. Then there was another one in October, and then there was another one in November. And this is pretty crazy because so many people have been hit this year, and I'll come on to some of the biggest improvements you can make for your site later in this video. Now, the thing is, normally, if there are core updates, say 6 months apart, usually if you got hit by the first one, you'd have to wait for the next one to roll out 6 months later before you finally got your traffic back if you ever recovered. One of the things I was wondering about this, and I don't know for sure, is whether, let's say you got hit last month in the core update, whether your website can actually recover the month later. So one of my favorite things to do after these core update announcements is actually run through the Twitter reactions. So let's have a look. I can imagine there's going to be so many GIFs right here. Everin said, I think we can call this the Verge update. I don't know if anyone's seen the Verge article, but basically, without going off on a crazy tangent, SEOs have been called the people who ruined the internet. And I can see where they're coming from with this article. And you can also see it was the #1 trending topic on Google Trends for SEO. So I don't want to go off on a crazy tangent about this, but it's very interesting to see the reactions to The Verge and how viral this article about SEO went, which is basically saying that SEOs ruin the internet, which is quite interesting. It's another topic for another day, but yeah, let's have a look at some more reactions. This is one of my favorite GIFs so far. What is going on right now? Mohammed Waleed replied and said, so the core update is a monthly thing right now. The same thing I was saying, like, I'm so surprised that there's so many core updates going on, but I think it's because of all the craziness that's happened this year. If you look at AI and the way that it's changed SEO and the flood of content that's coming through since almost a year ago when ChatGPT was launched, you can see that the demand for ChatGPT and the interest in it is just increasing all the time. It's absolutely insane. So this is Google Trends, so you can basically look at the interest over time for certain topics. So for example, for ChatGPT, if you look worldwide over the last 12 months, there's just more and more interest on ChatGPT. And the same for AI SEO. It has dropped a little bit since July, but you can see the trend there, which means that more and more people are going to be using AI and SEO. It creates a lot of problems for Google because they're swamped with the amount of content. The rankings are all over the place. Anyone can create content at scale now. And they're probably trying to work on ways they can get around that with all these core updates. And that's the same for all these updates this year. If you look at the helpful content update as well, Abdu Geek replied and said, is this for the content goblins? So this is another reference to the Verge article, right? I think one of the reasons for this core update as well, maybe, is Google actually found a bug in their October core update, which applied to Discover. So loads of people were getting traffic from Google Discover, which is basically like a feed. You can see it kind of here in the Google, and it shows people like custom related content. Now, loads of SEOs recently were getting a lot of traffic from Google Discover, all sorts of YouTube videos and tweets, etc. about it. And Google actually found a bug in Google Discover that was sending loads of traffic to some sites when it shouldn't have been after the October core update. Now, if you're not sure what a Google core update is, basically, it's a holistic approach on your whole website, right? So it's looking at your site in every single way, not just at one single thing. So it's not like a review update where it's looking at the review articles on your website. It's not like a helpful content update where it's looking specifically at the quality of your content. This is basically a holistic approach of your whole site. And as you can see, Google say that there's nothing in the core update that targets specific pages or sites. Instead, it's assessing the whole system of ranking your site. Now, if you're wondering, okay, what should I improve across my whole site? And there's a million things you could focus on. So one of the best articles I've seen officially by Google, and a lot of people say there's a mismatch between what Google say and what actually happens with the ranking factors. But if you do want to see what Google officially have to say on the topic, so they have this article, it goes back to August 2019 and the core update then. But essentially, they have a bunch of questions that you can ask yourself about content and quality. For example, like, does the content provide original information, reporting, research, and analysis? Does the content provide insightful analysis or interesting information that is beyond obvious, etc.? And these are all different questions that you can use to ask yourself, okay, is my content quality good enough? Is my expertise good enough? Does the content provide enough value, etc.? And also EAT, right? So does your website present expertise and trustworthiness? And if you want to read more about that, I would highly recommend checking out Marie Haynes' website and her article on expertise, experience, authority, and trust. It's a great guide, very, very in-depth. And I'll come on to some of the best ways to implement it later in this video. I'm going to show you some examples of when it worked and how some of my sites have been hit in the past for not implementing EAT across our sites, which I'll come into in a minute. But if you want to go really deep into that, check out this interview with Kazradash. Really in-depth guide, very, very actionable, that talks you through some of the best EAT strategies. But I'll come on to some of those today and how you can implement them across your site, plus some of the results I've seen. What's interesting is actually that Google did a Q&A on the Google search update. So they updated this on Thursday, November the 2nd, as you can see right here, where they basically run through in depth some of the updates that are coming this month. So for example, we already know about the core update that's rolling out right now. That was announced yesterday. Now, they've also answered the main question everyone's asking, which is, why is there another update so soon after the October 2023 core update? And basically, they were saying that they have different systems that are considered in the ranking process. So this system that's being updated in November is different to the system that was updated in October, apparently. But here's the other thing. They're actually updating their review updates system next week, which is quite interesting. So there's not just going to be a Google November update, but there will be a reviews update coming as well. What does this all mean? It all means that it's going to get very, very volatile. And, you know, a lot of niche websites that have already been hit this year by the helpful content update are going to see even more volatility, whether that's good or bad, over the next few months as the Google reviews update comes out. But yeah, you can see that pretty much every single week recently, the SERPs are super volatile, rankings are all over the place. I think if your site gets hit, you don't know if it's going to recover or bounce back or whatever. I've seen across some of my sites, like, traffic gets hit and then it goes up and then it gets hit and then it goes up. And the swings week to week can be 30 to 50%, which is absolutely insane. So for example, if you look at these two sites, Discover Aves and Bogafundaland, they've done extremely well since the updates that have come along this year. And every time there's an update, they seem to bounce back really quickly. Same for JulianGold.com. The traffic ever since all of these updates has just increased and the patterns are looking really good there. So I don't think necessarily AI sites are getting targeted. I think there's so many other factors to it. I've seen AI sites get hit. I've seen human written content sites get hit. It's quite interesting. See, I've seen niche sites that have no persona on them doing extremely well. And then I've seen other sites where, you know, with no EA signals, they get absolutely smashed. One site that we did a big case study about was cheaperbirds.com. So if we look at the traffic for cheaperbirds.com at the start of the year, 12 months ago, that was at 184 clicks per day. It absolutely ramped up and then it got smashed by an update. But you can see it's actually recovering. So it's bouncing back for a comeback. But one of the things that I found actually was, like, up to here, we had no EAT signals on the website. And since then, we've actually added that to the site. So the traffic dropped all the way down to 800 clicks a day. And then since we've added the EAT signals to the website, basically adding a real person with a real email address, social media links, and not just a fake persona, plus adding a real author bio to every blog, seems to have helped. So it went from an 800 to 1,000 clicks a day we're up to today. And bear in mind, this site was getting 184 clicks a day back in November last year. Now it's getting 1,000 clicks. That's a 5x increase in 12 months. So even though the traffic took a hit after the updates, I think we've figured out the reasons why, which is the lack of EAT signals. And you can see that the traffic is bouncing back, especially during a super volatile time. And by the way, I want to be fully transparent with you. We always said with that case study, it's a risk. We don't recommend it for everyone. I talked a lot about that in my videos and how we're just running a fun case study. But yeah, it's very interesting to see. Traffic is recovering, but it took a hit. That's all part of the game. And if you're playing the long-term game, it's totally fine. Plus, this is a website we don't really care about. And bear in mind, like, a lot of our other sites have done really well. As you can see right here, this site has performed extremely well during the update. These two sites have performed extremely well during the update, so I don't think it's human or AI written content that's the problem, but I do think that having EA signals and basically demonstrating that you're a real person with a real website, that you're not just a fake persona on the site, makes a big difference. And I talked a lot about that in this video with Kazra Dash right here. Now, let's talk about the reviews update that's coming out soon. So with a review system update coming out, I think that a lot more niche sites are going to get hit if they're not balancing out the amount of review content versus informational content. So if you're just pumping out loads of money pages, but you're not creating any informational content, then that can look quite dodgy to Google. And typically when most sites get affected by that is during the review systems updates. Just something to be aware of. And also the way that I see this with AI content sites, when we all have access to the same technology, same prompts, same tools, etc., anyone can go on the internet and create a website in about 10 minutes, as I've shown in some of my videos, and create tons of content at scale. So really, the game isn't so much about content anymore. There's 3 other things that you need to apply to your site to make sure they rank. And this is really important as there's review updates coming out, as there's core updates rolling out all the time, etc. Is number 1, link building, right? So for example, in this video, I talk about how we got a free DR93 backlink using ChatGPT. And by doing that, by building more backlinks to the website consistently, that creates more authority and it separates you from everyone else. And I think this is a big issue in SEO right now, is that if you want to differentiate yourself from everyone else, is that if AI content is so easy to produce and you can create websites so easily, what's going to differentiate you from everyone else? And the number 1 thing I would say is backlinks, because that signals authority. And it's also a big part of EAT. Now, EAT stands for experience, expertise, authority, and trust. And this is a big part of Google's ranking factors now because it's so easy to create content sites. So how do you demonstrate authority? Well, you get backlinks from other websites, just like I'm talking about in this video, and you'll see a free link building section inside my free course as well. Link is in the comments, but essentially that's one of the biggest ways to build a moat around your site and create authority. The next one is branding. Right? So for example, whether you're using human or AI written content on your site, branding, I think, makes a huge difference. For example, if you look at juliangoldie.com and the growth that we had on Twitter, with SEO, etc., over the last 12 months, it's been insane. And they all correlate across the same charts, right? Because there's all these signals around the web, whether it's PR, whether it's podcasts, whether it's YouTube videos, whether it's all the content that we post on LinkedIn and social media, etc. We look like a real brand, and no one is update proof. But this is one of the best ways you can play the probabilities in your favor. So if you look at all the crazy updates that have come out this year, which has been pretty much every single month since August, this website has performed better and better. Because with branding, you look like a real business. If you look like a real business, then that demonstrates expertise, experience, authority, and trust again. And the final thing is semantics, right? So if anyone can create a content, how you structure the content is really important. Now, if you look at this video about how we ranked first page on Google in 4 hours using ChatGPT, a big part of that was the semantics and the way that we structured the content, because using tools like Neuron Writer, for example, you can easily deconstruct what your competitors are doing. You can see all the LSI keywords they're using. You can see what headings they're using, etc. And this differentiates your content simply because it's easier and cheaper for Google to crawl your content and understand how relevant your content is. So long term, if you want to protect yourself from updates, it's impossible to say you're completely update proof, but I would say they're my top 3 methods that are working for me right now. And if I compare, say, this website that's performed really well for me and this one that got hit a bit with the updates, but is still recovering and is still 5 times higher than pre-ChatGPT days, well, I would say that the biggest difference is actually the branding on the site. So having a real person, real business, real author, etc. Because Chipperbirds previously was an anonymous site, but since we've changed that, we're seeing an increase from an 800 clicks a day to 1,000 clicks a day, and it's on an upwards trend. So let's see how that goes. Now, if your content was impacted by a core update, you might not recover, even if you make improvements, until the next broad core update. But essentially, normally you'd have to wait 6 months until the next update to see your rankings recover. Here's the thing, because there's core updates pretty much every single month, which you can see right here, you can see an official list, and you can see there was 1, 2, 3, 4 core updates this year. The good news is, if your website gets hit, you don't have to wait 6 months for your website to recover if you make some improvements. So you kind of get faster feedback. The problem is everyone's rankings are very volatile, and that can lead to uncertainty with your SEO traffic. So thanks so much for watching. If you want to get access to my free ChatGPT SEO course, feel free to get that. Link's in the comments in the description. Looks like this. You can opt in, get access straight away. It's got tons of useful videos in there, including some tips on and optimizing your website. If you do want to book in a free SEO strategy session about how to get more leads, traffic, and sales to your website using SEO, then feel free to book that in. We'll basically show you how we take websites from 0 to 145,000 visitors per month and generate thousands of dollars in sales for that website using SEO.